I've got 5 cards here and each one represents a $1 million funnel mistake. After launching over 600 funnels and auditing thousands more, I'm gonna walk you through the 5 huge funnel mistakes that are probably destroying your Facebook ads and stopping you from scaling, and exactly how to fix them. By the end of this video, you'll know where your funnel is bleeding money, how to plug those leaks, and how to build a system that consistently generates qualified leads and sales at scale. Let's get started. Mistake number 1, you optimize your funnel for the wrong thing. Surprisingly, the biggest mistake I see when I audit Facebook ad accounts isn't just shit creative and the wrong targeting, right? It's always optimizing for the wrong metric. Most businesses are chasing cheap leads and high conversion rates, thinking that more leads were gonna equal more money. But cheap leads typically creates really expensive customers. And when you only optimize for CPL, cost per lead, you are training Facebook to find more of those people who will give you their email address and not the people who are going to actually give you money. Okay, let me show you the math on this with our campaign calculator. I had a client in the finance space stuck at about 20K ad spend on Facebook ads before working with us. Their previous agency was all excited and celebrating because they were getting 267 leads at about $75, right? Which sounds good. But when we actually dug into the real numbers, here's what we found. Only 40% of those leads actually showed up to calls, which is only 107 conversations from 267 leads. But only 22% of those leads were actually qualified. So out of 107 conversations, 23 are qualified. And with an 11% close rate, wow, that was only 3 closed deals. All right, so 3 closed deals from 20K ad spend, not great, right? So yes, the CPL cost per lead was 75, but the CPA to acquire was over 7,000, closer to 8. And once you actually understand these numbers, you know where are the choke points in your funnel and how to fix them. Okay, so we created a new landing page, which increased their conversion rate to about 15%, depending on the campaign. It had better messaging and better qualification, including a questions in the form to disqualify anyone that they shouldn't be wasting their time from. And then we sent qualified lead data back into the Facebook ad platform, which the other agency wasn't doing. They were measuring the wrong metric and then sending the wrong data back to Facebook ads, training the pixel, training the algorithm to find more of the wrong people, cheap, shitty leads. So if you watch this ROI number, it'll keep going up. We also got a 70% show rate because what we did is that we improved what was on their thank you page. So a better video to get them hyped up, enthusiastic, excited, pre-framing them. We had better objection killers on the thank you page as well, and more testimonials. So people started to put more weight behind that. What we also did is we shortened their time frames, so their calendar was open for it was like 8 days, 9 days or something crazy. And we condensed the calendar, right? Because when somebody becomes a lead on Facebook ads, they're not gonna remember it in a few days. It is speed to lead. And then because we had better messaging all the way at the ad angle. So what we did was we got our AI bot to analyze all of their top 10, 20 closes so that we could see, cool, this is what your sales team are saying. Let's put that into your digital appointment setter, in the ad, on the landing page, and in all of the messaging prior to the call. And then we got all of the objections, right? So then we analyzed all of the calls that didn't close. We find out why, and then the sales starts in the marketing. We go back into the funnel and we start to obliterate those objections earlier. So by the time that people were coming now to the sales calls, they weren't asking these questions or they didn't need all of this education. They weren't coming to an education call. Now they were coming to a closing call, right? So that their next micro step could be to close. So now we got the qualification up to about 55%, give or take. And now because the sales team were spending their time on better leads who were more likely to close, we were DQing people. I don't even know what, we were DQing people they shouldn't have been talking to. And then the sales team, the closers, were spending more time doing that. They can fire some of their setters because they had these setters unnecessarily in this step when somebody actually wanted this finance, right? And then they were having to talk to a setter, and it's like, bro, just qualify them in the marketing. You can use setters in other instances, and most of the time now, AI is automating a lot of setting. For this, the next micro step was to get the loan. So to put a setter in the middle was causing friction in the funnel. So their close rate jumped to 20%. And also, this happens over time. Some of these metrics improve day one. You launch the new funnel and we're awesome. But let's be honest, there's a reason why most people don't have Facebook ads working and scaling, because it's hard. Like it's simple, like once you figure it out. But we knew, okay, these different choke points, we know, we have a playbook, what do we need to do? So same $20,000, better economics for scale, and now it actually makes sense to pump money into this, right? So yeah, that's one thing. All right, now that brings me to mistake number 2, and this is the one that separates businesses that I see scaling to millions from the ones that stay stuck forever. Most businesses do not have an economic model that scales, right? They're competing on features and benefits like everyone else instead of building what Dan Kennedy would call the ultimate competitive advantage, right? The ability to spend more to acquire a customer than anyone else. So I had a client doing 2.6 mil a year who was stuck. Every time they tried to scale their Facebook ads past 40, 50K per month, CPAs blew out. And they thought it was a creative problem or audience saturation, but the real issue was economics, right? Their competitors had better unit economics and could afford to pay more for the same customer. My client was capped at $150 CPA, cost per acquisition, while I assume maybe some of the bigger players could pay like double and still be profitable after I funnel hacked them, right? Now, this was for a client with an info product funnel, and that's going to be slightly different economic levers and potential choke points than the high ticket lead gen. Okay, I'm not going to show you my super complicated one for info. Let's just go through this together because there's certain metrics that you can impact, right? So you might think, okay, cool. Let's just increase our visitors. Let's increase our visitors and see what happens. So why don't we just spend more money on ads and then boom, we're going to bring in more cash. Sure, but like that's just one way to do it and not the best way, right? What we really want to look at and identify is what I said before in mistake number 1 is the real choke point of the funnel. Where should you actually focus on and which economic driver is going to have the biggest impact on your bottom line? So let's look at this. Now, a sales page at 3% isn't awful, but ideally I would have it at more like 5 to 8% for this AOV. So if we increase that to 5%, straight away you can see down here the total cash increases, right? And I'm giving you like a pretty basic bitch understanding, but I want you to understand that when you're trying to scale your ads, there's an equation. And that equation is your economics. So knowing these numbers and knowing which numbers you're going to focus on to impact. For example, when I see people doing CRO, conversion rate optimization, they'll be doing dumb shit like, yeah, we're testing this thing at the bottom of the page. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing that? It's got nothing to do with anything that's broken. Like, and even then, sometimes they're split testing shit and it's like, bro, the funnel's broken. Like, I can see that you have a show up rate of 10%. Go and fix what's broken. You can't make it worse. And that's just more of a like, you can do a sequential rollout or a heuristic update, whatever. Anyway, back to this. So we can come and fix all of this. One of the first things I did was change their order bump, but I'm just showing you more general. With the order bump, we increased it by $10 and then just a better strategy about it. That increased it to like $26. That's a little impact. And the upsell, I like them at more like 20%. Okay, cool. So we've done this. But now where a lot of info doesn't test is around the pricing, because we could double our sales page price, right? And we could decrease this. You've just always got to check what the total cash is going to be. Now, also in info, it depends whether you're doing only low and mid or what your ascension is on the back end. So another thing for this client is they had this golden goose product that they were scaling and scaling and scaling, but there was nothing on the back end. So they had a main product for $82, they had an order bump, they had an upsell in a mass market, and then nothing on the back end. So what we're doing is we're installing all of the email flows so that we have like actual nurture and ascension. We're introducing new products. We're sitting down and going, okay, well, the low ticket should just create a new problem. Their low ticket product actually solved way too much, right? And so we have to like reconfigure the low ticket. Anyway, I think you're picking up what I'm putting down, and you can start to see how we can impact this AOV and this total cash, and then we can start to get an allowable CPA. And that's what I'm trying to impact. I'm trying to see how I can increase my allowable CPA, my cost to acquire somebody, so that if I'm break even or just a little bit less, I don't really want funnels. Like, my goal isn't really to like make this front end funnel really profitable. It's to crack some sort of mid-ticket, high ticket in the back end and ascend them, whether it's subscription or coaching or whatever it is. That's the economics, right? And especially with lead gen, like I showed you before, and also info that I work in, but it's the same in e-commerce or SaaS or whatever you work in. Understanding your economic model to scale is the key, right? I don't know if I finished that scaling equation before, but it is economics plus psychology times technology. Technology is just an accelerator. AI will not save you. If you are garbage at marketing and you put garbage in, you will get garbage out. Okay, end rant. Having great economics doesn't really matter if all of your qualified leads slip through the crack. So the next mistake is what happens after somebody converts. And that is mistake number 3, you aren't controlling every touch point. And this is a huge one, and it kind of comes back to the economics, right? You're treating your funnel like it's just a landing page and some ads. But a funnel isn't just one page, it's every single touch point from the moment someone clicks your ad until they become a paying customer. And even then, you should be thinking about the funnel as their whole journey after becoming a customer and every single touch point and finding ways to increase LTV and getting more referrals, etc. Anyway, the problem is most businesses get the lead and they think, my job is done. But getting the lead is just the beginning of the dance. What happens next will determine whether you make money or you waste your ad spend. So let me use another example. I had a client in the coaching space who was generating 500, 550 leads per month at about $80 per lead. Yeah, which sounds good like the first time, right? But what was actually happening when we looked under the hood, 60% of leads never showed up. Of the 40% who did show up, so 4 out of 10, half were unprepared, didn't even remember booking the call. Their sales team were super frustrated. They were spending all these hours chasing no shows and educating all of these prospects who should have been pre-sold, right? And they were closing maybe 8%, 8 to 12% of leads, and their sales reps were burning out fast. They had a huge churn with their sales reps because marketing wasn't doing enough of the heavy lifting. So we needed to map out and control every point of their journey. Now, I think a lot of people get overwhelmed when they see a funnel map. I remember 10 years ago or whatever, when I first saw a funnel map and it was an Infusionsoft one, now called Keep, but it's still traumatic. And it fucking made my brains leak out of my ear. And so I think a lot of people get really overwhelmed, but it's just every touch point. And a funnel's not optional, right? All we're looking to do is get someone to say the next micro yes and the next micro yes. So somebody is here at ads and then they're over here at a sale. Right, the problem is just the gap between where we are now and where we want them to be. So we have the ad, and the ad is going to click to a landing page. This is easy, team, get out your pens and papers. We go add to landing page. Now, whenever they do something, right, there's a decision diamond. What's gonna happen next? Okay, so basically you could be tracking down to do they click, do they fill in the form, do they book? We're gonna do fill in form, and then they're gonna, are they qualified? Because you should not be talking to time wasters. Yes, calendar page. So what we're going to do is ads to landing page. Do they fill in the form, the application form? Yes, and they're qualified. I'd do this better. Dumb thing. Lucidchart's not dumb. I've been using this for a million years. Whatever. Do they fill in the form? Are they qualified? Yes. They get to go to a calendar. No, they go to a DQ page, right? Now you have to remember when the client came to me, what were the problems that they were having? I think it was the show up rate, the close rate. So there are things that we could fix downstream, but I also know that it was from the messaging on the top of the ads. We were bringing in shit leads, right? And then we were expecting the sales team to pick up all the dead weight why don't you just DQ the people that aren't going to close, do better messaging in your ads, and then season your pixel properly to bring in the right people. Anyway, so then they go to the calendar, and we're just mapping out the steps. Look how fast this is. Do they book in? Yes. Great. Now they go to a thank you page. No. Okay. Well, we're going to do retargeting. The sales team are going to actually have to do some work, and I want the sales team to call. Another good thing that we've recently done is when they land on a calendar page, right? So they've filled in the application, they land on the calendar page, and then they go to exit the calendar page, having an exit intent pop up. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. It's fucking obvious. But that is helping. Even if you think pop-ups are annoying, which they are, they help. Okay, so calendar, do they book in? Yes, thank you page. Then, okay, what's gonna happen next? Well, do they show up? Cool, sales team needs to do stuff. and we can do emails. So the first email flow here that we implemented is filled in form, didn't book, very creative name, I know. The next one is they book in before they talk to the team. And this is like the most important, we call it the pre-swayed flow, because in this flow, we are going to be absolutely hammering them with testimonials and objection obliterators, etc. On the thank you page, we're doing the same thing. I got more in-depth videos on that. I'm already going off script here. And then the thank you page, do they show up? They should be getting their pre-swayed emails. This is a dirty, quick funnel. Do they show up? But I'm showing you how easy it is because you're just mapping out the touch points. Do they show up? Yes, sales call, no show flow. And sales team needs to actually do their job. Boom, right? Now we know what every single touch point is. So anyway, once you do this and over time, show up rates like 40% to like 78, give or take, and their close rates nearly doubled because they were talking to better people. Alrighty, number 4, mistake 4. You waste your sales team's time. You can probably feel where I'm going with this. Okay, the problem is you're letting any bozo get to speak to your closers. And most businesses are so desperate for leads that they'll let anyone book a call, but your sales team time is one of the most expensive resources, right? So when they're spending hours with tire kickers who can't even afford your service, they're not talking to people who can actually buy. And I see this a lot with our high 7-figure, 8-figure clients because they've scaled their sales team, maybe prematurely, and they feel the need to flood the team with leads. Now, I'm going to specifically talk about closers. Your closers should only be on calls that have a high likelihood to what? Close. Most businesses don't do enough sales and DQing in the marketing. And then they expect their closers to perform miracles by closing uneducated, shitty leads. And I've seen cases where the sales rep have to spend ages, multiple calls, educating leads to be convinced they even have a problem when the marketing should have done the heavy lifting. So for most closers, it's too much to ask them to get to educate somebody from scratch, right? Now to fix this, and it's pretty obvious, the first step is for sales and marketing to sync and feel like one system, not two competing. And once we do this for a client and we truly understand the problems, then we can implement a qualification system before anybody can access the sales team and we DQ the wrong people. But to be honest, the qualification starts at the ad level through the messaging and the offer on the landing page. And then, as I keep harping on about, every touch point in your funnel. And it's why you need a really well thought out strategy, not just random tactics all stuck together. And now, number 5, $1 million funnel mistake. You do not have a repeatable system to scale. And this is it. It separates the businesses that I see consistently growing, even if they hit that growth wall, is they do not have this repeatable system for breakthroughs, right? So most businesses I see are relying on luck or one-time wins. They get a good month, then they spend the next 6 months trying to figure out what worked. But most market leaders, they have these systematic processes for finding breakthroughs on their campaigns. They test lots of new big swings and iterate on their creative winners before they fatigue and die, and they are not afraid to fail. So another mistake I see businesses making is putting too much pressure on the marketing team, the agency, to get it right every time and to constantly hit a PB, and they never zoom out, right? So I had a client doing like 7 or 8 figures, I don't know, can't remember, who hit a wall. Their best Facebook ad had been running for like 8 months, generating about 60% of their leads, give or take. Then ad fatigue killed it and their lead volume dropped. They panicked, threw money at new creative, but nothing worked. Why? Because in the good times, when it was raining, they didn't put their buckets out and they never made a system to keep replicating those winners. So they weren't preparing for the thing that was inevitably gonna happen, right? They were completely dependent on that one campaign, that one ad even, and when it failed, the entire business was at risk. So when it comes to the ad system, we need a consistent pipeline of new creative all the time. We have a mix of educational, content style ads, direct response, and across these, we're testing a bunch of different messages and angles and types of creatives. What we're looking for is a winning ad, and dear Lord, a winning ad is not the least shit of a shitty bunch of ads. The winner needs to hit certain KPIs to graduate from P1 testing to phase 2 testing, and if it successfully does that, then it moves into a scaling campaign, and then we can put more money into it, right? Pending the client's goals. You also need CRO, and you need to have A/B split tests in the funnel, etc. That's for another video. Alrighty, and those are the 5 huge funnel mistakes, each one of them easily $1 million mistake, and how to fix them. Now, if you want some help with aggressively scaling your Facebook ads and you want to see if myself and my agency are a good fit, awesome. There's a link in the description. You can book in a call with me and we'll go through it. Don't be offended if you get DQ'd because you're not a good fit. Or if you want to keep DIYing it, then watch this video next on our $1 million Facebook ads system.